Welcome to the Recon Trader. Today's video is going to be an update video on a strategy that I deployed recently on CoinBase using a CryptoHopper signal service that was supposed to be free. And the reason I'm doing air quotes is free is supposed to mean no cost. Listen, I went to public schools here in America. They suck. And even I know what free is supposed to mean. And when you lose money, you have incurred a cost. And this signal service will cost you money. So it's not free. But with that all being said, the signal service that I deployed just over a week ago was the strategy Nakamoto. And we deployed it for just over a week. And this all started because I did a video a while back ago because I get so many questions from people asking whether any of the signal services are any good, or should I take strategies from someone else, pay somebody for their strategies. And my answer is always no. The people who work for tips are your bartenders, waiters, strippers. They work very hard for their money. And as traders, we don't make a living off of tips. There's a better way to make a living, and a much more profitable living, than working off of someone else's tips. But that's how this whole thing got started. I did a video basically saying that most of the signal services on the CryptoHopper platform are pretty much pump and dump or scams, or in this particular case, in regards to strategy Nakamoto, what I was basically pointing out was that CryptoHopper claimed that they had a 2.35% average profit per trade. And my statement was, the problem with this figure is it's not calculating in fees. This number does not take into account the fee the exchange charges. And in the situation where I deployed this strategy was on Coinbase, you're going to have a 1% fee, 0.5% when you buy and 0.5% when you sell, essentially, if you're a newer trader. And that 1% would have to come off of this figure. And I also stated that looking at their results, none of their winners are over 1%. They kind of took issue with that. And so saying I was looking at the most recent signals and not giving them time to actually run their course. So if we jump over to the real-time stats, which is basically based on the last month, we can see all their CoinBase Pro signals, none of them achieved an average profit of more than 1%. None of these are going to cover your fee. And same with Binance. While Binance's fees are lower, you're still not making any real profit for the risk you're giving up. Now, if we take a look at their comment, they actually commented on the YouTube video that I did saying that the signal services are garbage. And as you can see, they claim that the coins did not have time to make a significant move. When we dive into the actual trades made by my automated trading bot on CryptoHopper, they're identical to what I pointed out. They're all less than 1% profit for the most part. There's a couple bigger winners, but for the most part, they do exactly what I said in this original video. I also hammered all the other signal services on risk versus reward and how important that is when you're trading. And they claim they never recommend their clients to hold a bag of 8%. Well, when we go in and look at their actual stop loss versus their take profit number, that risk reward number is upside down. It's more like a 4-to-1, which means you got to be right 80% of the time just to break even before fees. It's actually more like 5-to-1 once you add that 1% fee in, and therefore you got to be right 83% of the time just to break even. That's a terrible risk versus reward. It's not a 8% bag they're asking you to hold. They're actually asking you to hold a 3.2% bag with a profit of only 0.8%. And again, if you're paying attention, Coinbase fees 1%. So 0.8, again, my public school education, which I barely got, I'll admit, tells me that math isn't going to work in my favor. Okay? And then lastly, they comment on how it's free and you can do paper trading with it before you actually buy. Their whole goal with their signal service is to get you to buy their strategies that are used by the signal service. Well, the strategies are obviously garbage because the signal service is failing miserably. Now, I didn't do paper trading. I did live trading. I actually put my own money at risk because while I'm a strong proponent of paper trading, it's basically target practice. It kind of lets you get dialed in. But you don't know how you're actually going to perform until you're under live fire. And that live trading is going to tell you how it will truly perform in the market. So I took their signal service. I deployed it live on Coinbase. And so let's take a look at how it is actually performing with a week in. We can see that I'm holding 3 positions right now. As I speak, one of them is going to be put out of their misery. The BTC position just sold itself off at a probably 3% or more loss. Yep, the Bitcoin just sold itself, triggered by their stop loss of 3.2%. It just sold for a loss of 3.39%. You got to add a 1% to that. That's actually over a 4% loss because your fees. All right, and you can see a bunch of losses here, and hey, surprise surprise, the winners are small, just like I had pointed out previously. Now I'm going to actually put these other 2 out of their misery here in a moment, but I do want to show you on their settings. I used their settings from their signal provider to do the buying and to do the selling. I wanted it to be driven completely by the signal service, so they couldn't say I messed with the strategy somehow and therefore that's why it underperformed. So if we take a look at their stop loss that they have set under their own settings, when you click on the actual settings for this, is 3.2%. Their take profit number is 0.8%, less than 1%. Again, do some basic math, and that's a 4-to-1 risk versus reward. In the world of trading, you want that number to be flipped. What you really want is about a 1-to-2, risk 1, reward 2, or preferably 1-to-3. With those numbers, with the 1-to-2, you got to be right 33% of the time to break even. With the 1-to-3, you only have to be right 25% of the time to break even. That's what professional traders go for. This is not a healthy risk versus reward that they tried to defend. And once you deploy their signal service, you clearly can see they have no idea what risk versus reward is. And we'll take a look at XLM so you can see it's the same exact settings. Stop loss 3.2, take profit 0.8. And the other issue that comes into account is they are running a trailing stop loss, and they're basically giving up almost their entire profit with the trailing stop loss. So if it hits this 0.8 and then immediately reverses on you, and the trailing stop loss is a great tool, it'll allow you a little wiggle room once you hit your number to move up or maybe slightly against you and then rebound and move up a much higher amount and bring in bigger profits, hopefully. In this case, if this moves against you, it's going to wipe out all your profits and then close out the position, hopefully. There's a few trades in here where it hit the profit number, moved this 0.6. By the time it actually sold, though, and that's why live trading is so important, by the time it actually sold, it was less than the 0.2% they leave you. You know, that's what meat they leave you on the bone, is about 0.2%. But by the time it actually sold and the transaction was actually completed, it was actually less than the 0.2%. So again, these settings are not going to work. This service is a nightmare. So let's go ahead and put these 2 out of their misery before I take. This one's almost there, 2.9%. It's got 0.3% left to go before it's going to get stopped out. But I'm going to go ahead and sell these two positions just by simply clicking on the sell. And anytime a position is moving against you and maybe you see something that you don't like and you want out of it, the nice thing with CryptoHopper is it does give you the sell feature to get out as soon as possible. And again, you're only going to get out as soon as someone else is willing to buy. This is live trading, not paper trading. So XLM doesn't have a lot of volume on Coinbase, so it won't always sell immediately. It'll take a little bit of time, and in that time you can have some slippage and actually sell for less than what you thought you were going to get. Okay, now with that all being said, the buying has been disabled. I disabled that earlier today so that I wouldn't end up holding even more bags of garbage. I kept obviously the hopper enabled so I could get rid of the bags it had me holding. Let's take a look at the trade history to point out a little more of how this bot did. Okay, so I started this bot back on May 7th and let it run through, today is May 15th. So you can see it basically ran for 8 days, thereabouts anyway. And I started getting signals pretty quickly. Got a couple buy signals and a couple wins. Granted, they were just barely enough to cover the 1% fee. And then we started to see these small wins. Now they're all wins. So far you might be thinking, hey, look, I'm in the green on every single trade so far that this bot has signaled. You know, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 winning trades. Well, technically you've got 2 winning trades and you've got 4 losers because the fees are going to eat up these particular trades. And as we scroll up, we'll go to the next page or so, we can see small win, pretty big loss, which would wipe out that win because that win again is only 1% due to the 1% fee. So you kind of chop that in half. Now here you get a good win. You get an 8% win where their trailing stop actually allowed it to continue up and then retreated and finally stopped you out. And you got one good win in there, which is quickly eliminated by these 2 big losses. And see, that's where your risk reward, if it's upside down, you can have 1 big win eliminated by 2 losses, and that just will not cut it. And then here we get another streak of wins. Look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 9 wins in a row. Actually, there's only 1 win. All of these are under 1%, and therefore your fees will wipe them all out. And so I can't stress enough where if you see someone's win percentage and they're not including their fees, it can be very deceiving. It's very important to understand, but you see, again, another one of those big losses would absolutely wipe out a handful of these once you start adding them up. Because again, this is a 4% loss. It's not a 3% loss. This is a 4% loss, 4% loss. This is almost a 5% loss because there's 1% fee added to all those losses. Yes, you pay fees on losses and wins. And then we get back in and you can see these are all signals from Strategy Nakamoto. You can go back, pause the video, and see all these signals are from Strategy Nakamoto. I'm not making buys and then dumping, and it's all based on that trailing stop loss on this situation. All these supposed winners, which again, you've got a decent win there. That one's a push almost, and then the rest of them are losers because they're under 1%. And their trailing stop loss is their configuration. I did not mess with any of their configurations. And then we start looking up, and here is the one example, and I might have missed a few as we went through here. This was stopped out by their trailing stop loss, which means this particular coin was in the profit 0.80%. Their trailing stop loss was set so that you would have a little bit of room to move against you of 0.6%. And by the time this coin actually sold, it was a loser of 0.19%, not even the 0.2% winner you would expected had it moved and sold. And then on top of that, don't forget that 1% fee. Yes, I'm hammering home that fact that there are fees. And more losers, even though they're green, they're losers. And these big losses versus small wins. There's not a trader out there who understands risk versus reward that thinks this is acceptable. And as we keep scrolling up, here's another one of those trailing stop losses of theirs that actually falls below the 0.2%. When you take 0.8 minus 0.6, it actually falls below that because you're going to get slippage. It's just a reality. And then the rest of these are all triggered by their stop losses, and you can see it's triggered, and again their stop loss is set at 0.32%, but we can see this one got all the way to 4%. And that's not their fault. That's reality of live trading. If you did paper trading, a lot of times you will see exactly 3.2% every time, depending on how that paper trading program is configured. But most of the time, these are going to be 3.2, 3.2, 3.2, which would also give you an illusion that things aren't as bad as they actually are. But the reality is they're awful. And there's the last two. You can see I manually sold. I put them out of their misery, put them down. They were just going to bleed out anyway, so I put them down. But if you go back, pause the video through these screens and want to see, there are no manual solds. They're either stop losses triggered by their stop loss, or they're trailing stop losses triggered by their trailing stop loss set in their signal provider. And so hopefully by doing this experiment and costing myself a little bit of money, I will save you guys a bunch of money. And you guys can stop looking to someone else to provide you with tips when it comes to trading. And that's me included. You notice, I'll give you no tips. I'll show you strategies. I'll show you what I look at. But by no means am I trying to sell you some service that says I have the magic golden key to unlock profits in the world of trading. I've got a lot of experience when it comes to trading. These gray hairs, I'm probably a lot older than most of you watching this video. I have been doing trading, whether it's been stocks or equities of some sort and cryptocurrency, for a lot longer than most of the people out there on YouTube today. And that experience, I'm just trying to share with you. One, holds me accountable that I'm doing what I say I'm going to do as far as my trades. So it kind of makes me be accountable to myself by sharing this info with you guys. And so this video was a lot longer than I planned on it being. I just wanted to do a quick update, but there's a lot of information that I think was important. And so if you could do me a favor, spike a like, or if you think this video is a bunch of BS, which I think you'll know I don't BS, but spike an unlike. It's going to help my numbers anyway. And if you think there's a signal service out there that is the greatest ever, put it down in the comments. I'll put it to the test in live fire, not paper trading. And I will not BS. If it's good, I'll show you the good. If it's bad, I will be brutally honest then as well. But until next time, just remember, do your recon before you send your money into battle. See you in the next video.